Hello everyone, Anina back for VIVIDEARTH. How's everyone doing today? Another beautiful day, another opportunity to rise higher and higher, right? Today I just wanted to talk very briefly about South Africa again, just to clarify a few things, and even the international people might find it interesting. Um, I did a recording the other day, and for 20 minutes I was talking away and only later noticed that the video was on pause. So I lost all of that content, and it was really great, to be honest. But anyway, we shall try again. Um, I was just, talking about Rob Hersoff, kind of making waves in the South African domain, especially amongst, shall we say, white people. And, it's very quick to get swept up by his charm and wit and um, the way he delivers certain things. But do not be deceived, because this man does not have your best interest at all, unless what you want is to live in an invisible prison ruled by one world government. If you want that, then yeah, be my guest, support that man. But he doesn't have any good intentions for us, and not for this country either. The only interest here is controlling the country and its resources, and fooling the citizens for as long as they can. But we are free, we are liberated, and we are awake. So asleep no more. And we know what's going on. The gig is up, and we're calling it out. Every opportunity that we have, we speak truth to power, because that is the only way that we're going to change things. Speaking truth to power, and then working on creating a parallel system that is for the people, that is fair, that is free, that is to promote freedom, liberty, sovereignty, harmony, peace, prosperity for all. Okay, this, divide and conquer doesn't work on us anymore. It's done. Maybe it works on some of the people, but they're soon going to wake up in a sweat in the middle of the night, in a cold sweat, and realize they have been fooled. Um, you know, because this divide and conquer initially, the whole idea of dividing people by race, by religion, by creed, by class, whatever it is, was really, it's been around for much longer, but you can really see it taking shape in the era of Marxism in Germany, and how they created this very clever plan of dividing people and make them feel like the other one, whether it's the other race, the other religion, or whatever it is doing something to harm them, and that they should hate the other one. And this is a common Marxist ploy. Marxism was responsible for, but basically took over all the universities, starting in the US. And they started teaching things like critical race theory. Feminism is another Marxist, scam. It was never for the benefit of women at all. It was just to really separate the family, break up the family unit, the nuclear family, getting women to go out there and work, getting the kids further indoctrinated through nursery school, or preschool, all the way up to university. The sooner they can get the kids away from the family and start indoctrinating them, the better their plan takes fruition. And there's a few other things that they were teaching, but yeah, this has been an age-old game, and I can't believe people are still falling for it. Right now, there's this comedian in South Africa, which had to be pointed out by an American guy that I followed, Colonel Chris Wyatt, I think is his name. He's been talking a lot about South Africa, and he played a clip on this comedian and how he just was saying, like, white people are like subhuman, they're lower than dogs, they descend from the Neanderthals. And it's like, not only is it factually incorrect, and he's actually just stupid, but he's also spewing hatred without anybody saying anything. It's like nobody has anything to say about it. It's like, oh, everyone is too scared to say anything. They have to be politically correct, right? And I'm so tired of being politically correct. My days of being politically correct is over as of, let's say, 5 years ago. That's when I stopped being politically correct. Okay, because then the stakes became much higher, and it started really being about life and death, not only for us individually, but this planet. So, you know, the time has come for us to speak out, to speak our truth, to speak truth to power, and not be afraid to do that. Whatever the seeming large cost to you might be, trust me, is not even a match for what will happen if we don't do that. This is going to take much longer. Many more people will suffer if we do not speak up and stand up for the rights of all of humanity. You may say, oh, it doesn't reflect me. I'm pretty happy and I'm living life la vida loca. And you know what? I'm chasing the dream. I'm buying the cars. I'm buying the holiday homes. I'm going on holiday and I'm having a good life because I'm in the system and I'm benefiting from the system. Though that's the quiet part that they don't tell you. They are so embedded in the matrix that they will never want to get out of the matrix because it's their very identity. It gives them all the trinkets and the toys that they think is so fantastic. And because of their wealth, they feel so important, right? And all of that is worth nothing, nothing, nothing. One day they're going to wake up and think, wow, what was I doing? What was I thinking? All these meaningless shit that I bought that made me feel so important. And look what I gave up. So anyway, I thought this was just interesting. I speak regularly about the powers that be, or the powers that were, shall we say. We also known as the elites or the deletes, or the cabal or the DS. You know what that stands for. They're the ones really pulling the strings in the background, but it's still, the people, the middle management, as I like to call them, are still responsible, and they're going to have to pay. And sometimes it's just good to go over the details so we really know what went down, and we don't skim over the details, because all of these people need to face what's coming to them as well, because they were complicit, they were greedy. Yeah, they were greedy, they were complicit, they were soulless in what they did, and they did not care for other humans while they were doing this. Those are the people at the sort of upper end of the middle management, shall we say. They're high enough to know what's going on. In South Africa, obviously, if you want to look at the whole political structure and sort of tear it apart a little bit to see how it all fits together, and then you can see it's so incestuous. It's all linked to, everything else, and it's all in the family, and how it links back to the WEF and George Soros and Bill Gates and all these people that have been playing quite a big role, not only in South Africa, but Africa at large, right? Because South Africa is the window to the rest of Africa. That's how most companies enter this continent, through South Africa, because we kind of, if you will, in a way, kind of the first world gateway to the riches that Africa has to offer. And which is there for them to grab, of course, because they feel so entitled, and they believe it's theirs. So they have been taking and taking and taking for centuries now. And, ever since Cecil John Rhodes arrived here, things have just gone really downhill since then. And hasn't been any one in power since then. I may be making a blanket statement, but I'm loath to say maybe 98% of anyone who was in power after that didn't have good intentions, were greedy, were bought and paid for, took the bait, and had to execute the instructions of their masters, the puppeteers in the background, the 13 families, the Illuminati, with, strong influence from the WEF, George Soros, Bill Gates, the Crown, of course, and all of those lovely Englishmen that have been pulling the strings in the background for all of our parties, all of the significant parties competing against one another. If you just look in terms of few facts, Patrice Motsepe funds the EFF, and Supposedly, isn't he supposed to be like ANC? I mean, his brother-in-law is the president and also head of the ANC. So yeah, it's also incestuous. And Patrice Motsepe and Cyril Ramaphosa was also selected when they were young men. They were identified as, smart and presentable and perfect puppets for the puppet masters to execute a plan, charming enough to get the support from the masses. And they were given a lot of money, and they were given shares in companies. That's when BE came along. They were just given all these shares. That they didn't work for and that they knew nothing about, in companies that had a BEE requirement, Black Economic Empowerment. And so, yeah, Patrice funds the EFF. We know who funds Patrice. I mean, they're all funded by the same masters, so it doesn't really matter, but it does show you how incestuous this lot is. Patrice, of course, is the brother-in-law of Cyril Ramaphosa, like I said. Patrice is also the business partner of Johan Rupert, and we know Johan Rupert's name is on the paperwork for SA Inc. as registered in the US in Washington, D.C. He is on the board for SA Inc., and he's very instrumental in running this country behind the scenes, to be honest. So Patrice is also part of the Bill Gates Giving Pledge and Breakthrough Energy. He's also funded the DA, the Freedom Front, and the ANC. Interesting. Julius Malema rushed to the defense of Cyril Ramaphosa after Paul Kagame and Donald Trump attacked Cyril. I wonder why. Well, I can think of a few reasons. Cyril was recruited to the Urban Foundation by Anton Rupert and Harry Oppenheimer. These are the mining magnates, the oligarchs of our country, that had claim on all the riches, the mines, the gold mines, the diamond mines, and those were the guys that were pulling the strings for the bigger puppet masters behind them in Europe. So anyway, you may know the Oppenheimer family is the largest donor to the DA. The Oppenheimer and Rupert families are funded by the Rothschilds. And Johan Rupert actually got a leg up by Prince Bernhard from the Netherlands. And we know what that royalty is involved with. Nobody has to remind us about the hunting parties and the horrible things that are happening in Europe and in South Africa, by the way. So yeah, it's all one club and you ain't in it. Martin Kingston of the Rothschilds is the number one policy advisor to Cyril Ramaphosa via B4SA, NEDLAC, BUSA, and BLSA. Cyril was made a billionaire in a coal deal with Graham Beck, the neighbor and friend of Johan Rupert, you see. Cyril Ramaphosa, after becoming deputy president in 2015, sold all of his business interests to Phuthuma Nhleko. Phuthuma Nhleko is a business partner of Johan Rupert in Pembani Remgro. It's all just shared in a little circle. Yeah. Patrice Motsepe was made a billionaire by Basil Hersoff's father, Rob Hersoff. Rob Hersoff was trained by Johan Rupert. What did I say the other day? Basil Hersoff and Anton Rupert are members of a secret society called Le Cercle. I don't know, my French is not very good, but it sounds like the circle in French. In a Washington Post article, The Capitalist, April 1994, Johan Rupert admits to being friends with Cyril Ramaphosa and Thabo Mbeki, and that Johan Rupert made a deal with both Mbeki and Ramaphosa to protect his assets from being nationalized. Yeah, of course you did. Johan Rupert funded ENCA News Channel, regularly giving a platform to Cyril Ramaphosa and Julius Malema, both of them seemingly on opposite ends of the political spectrum. Johan Rupert was trained by David Rockefeller, who is Rockefeller's largest creditor of the apartheid regime. Rockefeller Foundation and the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet was behind Just Energy Transition funding Cyril Ramaphosa's Presidential Climate Change Commission by African Climate Foundation. Anything surprise you yet? No, me neither. Julius Malema has been paid to be anti-Trump since 2016, just like Helen Ziller and John Steenhuisen, who supported Hillary Clinton. So you see, when you take the money, you must do as the masters say. Otherwise, you're out. But of course, why would anyone want to get out when it's so good, when the money is just so good, right? And you're so important and well respected. Julius Malema, who's also supported, supported open borders, the LGBTQ, whatever community, United Nations, and a new world order led by China, just like George Soros, or should we rather say the CCP in China? Let's be specific. It's not the whole China. Just like George Soros is number one enemy of Donald Trump and the largest donor to the Democrats. And we've seen evidence of that, right? Lastly, Joe Biden did not send 200 billion to Ukraine. He sent the funds to the European Union to keep United Nations to 2030 Sustainable Development Goals alive. Now, this is someone's opinion. I don't know who wrote this, but it's certainly interesting. Something Cyril Ramaphosa supports, and which goes directly against Donald Trump and American policies of using coal, oil, and gas instead of benefiting China, let's say the CCP, with a woke energy transition, and in so doing, aim to enslave every man, woman, and child on earth. Well, they've already done that. They're just finding new ways to keep people enslaved. So I'm just reading that, but it's important to expose these things, in the sunlight, as you know. I love doing that, but I'm in no way giving this any energy because I know they've already failed. We know what's happened to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, okay? Executive Order 13818. The repossession of all property for people being caught to commit crimes against humanity. Yes, that executive order was signed years ago. It was never repealed by Biden. It was signed by Donald Trump in his first administration, and it's still there. So why didn't Donald Trump do away with that? Why? Because Donald Trump said, Biden, sorry, why didn't Biden do away with it? Because he's an actor, and you can actually see his acting profile. I shared it on the Telegram channel today. Both him and Kamala. He's listed with an agency. I think they're called CAA. I forgot who they're called, but it's an actors agency in Hollywood. Okay. If you do not know yet, this is a movie to wake up the masses. Then you need to get up to speed pretty quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting a lot of time, energy, like precious energy that you could have used on something else. So get up to speed. There's a whole list of documentaries that I've shared also on my Telegram channel. It's in the pinned comments. So at the top, there are some pinned posts. You just go through that last few posts and you'll come across the documentary list. So if you have not woken up to all this information, start doing your own research. Start watching some of those excellent documentaries that have been put together for your learning pleasure, so that you can come up to speed, because there's no excuse in this day and age anymore. This is the age of information. And if you don't educate yourself, well, I can't help you. I can bring certain things to your attention so that you can go and do your own research. But if you refuse to, there's nothing I can do. You can bring a horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink. You know that age-old saying, right? So people are going to learn to drink themselves, drink in the information that is freely available to everyone on this planet, and connect their own dots and switch on their critical thinking skills that have all been killed off up to now. So anyway, that's a short little history. What else did I want to say? Oh, there is an interesting sort of write-up about the South African money system, which I don't know if you guys want to hear quickly, but I can go through it very quickly. So it was on Valentine's Day in 1961, the South African rand was replaced rather, the pound. We were using pounds before then. Obviously we were an English colony. Cecil John Rhodes was a horrific pedo that did horrific things, not only to this country, but this continent. We know what he did in Zimbabwe, which used to be called Rhodesia, which was actually named after Cecil John Rhodes. And he carried out the mandate of the Crown and the Rothschilds. He answered to the Rothschilds, actually. And so, that sort of sickery, as I like to call it, started a long time ago. And we were using the pounds up until from the 1800s somewhere until 1961. So I can give you guys a very brief history. 1922, the South African Reserve Bank becomes the sole authority to mint, issue, and destroy South African currency, the South African pound. Before 1825, various currencies were used in the Cape. That's sort of the Cape Town region, if you will. There was no uniform currency. Coins in use included Indian rupees, Spanish dollars, German shillings, English shillings, Dutch guilders, and just to name a few. The Dutch guilder was probably the most widely used at that point. And in 1780, when war broke out between the Netherlands and England, coins became scarce in the Cape as the Dutch halfway station was nearly cut off from the homeland. In 1781, paper money was introduced called the Riksdaalder notes of the Cape, with the plan to reduce them with coins soon. Replace them. These were handwritten and stamped on paper, nothing more than an IOU. Also called a promissory note, if you've done your research on the whole money system. Unfortunately, forgeries appeared quickly. No shit, Sherlock. In 1795, this is going backwards and jumping back and forth, there was the Goedvoere, which I don't know how to pronounce that, but it appeared for small amounts. These were written on cardboard. So what was that? An IOU. In 1860, the British pound and half pound, which was paper, 1 shilling coins, 6 pence, which is silver, and pennies, which was copper, became more common. Back in the day, money was made from precious things, such as gold, silver, and copper. So all of these coins were actually made from real precious metals. And then obviously at some point I thought, it's going to be cheaper, and it's going to be cheaper just to print as much money as we want to if it's no longer in precious metals, right? Clever plan. So in 1825, the British pound was officially established by royal decree as the legal currency in all British colonies, including the Cape Colony. And then much, much later, actually just jumping forward to 1994, and South Africa officially became part of the Commonwealth, I would say again. But yeah, so they were supposed to be liberated, right, by our Black brothers and sisters serving in the ANC. But instead, we became part of the Commonwealth in that year. How ironic is that? They sold us out. I mean, we know Mandela Mbeki was smoking cigars in London and very expensive whiskey, and they didn't really do, at least Mandela didn't really do prison time. But then, of course, he became a little bit sort of maybe rebellious. I don't know what exactly, but they did get rid of him in the late 80s. And as I said before, they brought in the actor called, is it Jackson or Dixon? Makamba from Mozambique to play the part. No wonder when he came out of jail, his wife, Mandela's wife, Winnie Mandela, was like, well, who's this guy? This is not my husband. He's wearing a different size shoe, even if he looks like him. He also talks a little bit strange. So she immediately knew this was not her husband, which is why they got divorced not long after. And which is why Mandela married a Mozambican woman, because he was from Mozambique. He married Graça Machel, the first lady of, what's his name? Samora Machel. And they were both Mozambican. Makes sense now, right? Makes sense when you hear about Oprah visiting Mandela and how well they got on and on this farm, and then she started the school, and it's this whole like beautiful picture but actually the people behind it is completely corrupt and completely evil and complete pedovores, to be honest. You know what a pedovore is, right? It's like a pedo, but one that also eats the victims. Horrific stuff. And the worst of them, as I said before, was Cecil John Rhodes. This is just a fact. There's no buts about it. I, for one, cannot wait for his statue on Rhodes Memorial in Cape Town to be torn down. It must be torn down at some point. What he did to this country, this continent, is unthinkable. And his legacy cannot continue to live on in the way that it is. Anyway, I digress. So that was in 1825. The British pound was officially established by the royal decree. It's the legal currency in all British colonies. Of course it did. On 6th of June 1825, Lord Charles Somerset declared the sterling pound as legal tender. In 1831, the Riksdolder, the Dutch one, was withdrawn. The final exchanges occurred in 1841. The South African Reserve Bank. South African Reserve Bank was founded in 1921, just a few short years after the Federal Reserve, yes, was founded in the US. And that was shortly after the sinking of the Titanic, or at least the sister ship pretending to be the Titanic, right? And the bankers that died in that tragedy were all the ones that were against the formation of the Federal Reserve. Astor, his name is Astor. Who's the other guys? I don't know. I can't keep all this information in my brain. But you know, there were three very significant bankers and very wealthy people that was against the formation of the Federal Reserve. And the funny thing is, the Federal Reserve is not federal because it's actually a foreign entity, nor does it have any reserves. Isn't that just so ironic? I mean, one day we're going to wake up and realize, like, how dumb were we to be taken for a ride in this way? Properly brainwashed. That's what we were as a human species. Anyway, so in 1922, the South African Reserve Bank was granted the sole right to issue banknotes in South Africa. Of course they were. Specifically, the South African pound, which we still had. They obtained the exclusive right to produce, issue, and destroy banknotes to ensure the integrity. I'm sure integrity was top of their list, right? And availability of the South African currency. The South African Reserve Bank invested in various security features to protect banknotes from counterfeiting. Okay, but you are the printers. So you just print if you need more money, right? And we know the South African Reserve Bank is a private company, just like all the the Fed Reserve and all these central banks are privately owned. They have private shareholders who are all globalists. So I just hope our brothers and sisters can wake up very soon. And then, as I said, on Valentine's Day in 1961, with the establishment of the Republic, the Rand replaced the South African pound and South Africa transitioned to the decimal system. The Rand was named after the Witwatersrand, which is like a ridge where most of South Africa's gold were found. Fascinating stuff, guys. So that's a little bit of South African history again. I'm sure many of you know it already, and you'll probably leave more nuggets in the comments, like you always do. Generally, we have some very well-educated people in our audience, which I always enjoy. Yeah, so what else can I tell you guys? I was just going to bring a short one. So now you can see that US aid, when it was paused its funding to South Africa, how these globalists are starting to just scream and shout now because their funding, their funnel is being cut off. They can no longer launder the money for the causes that keep us enslaved. And that is a big problem for them, anyway, there's so many more things that I can dive into, but I just want to give this sort of, I just want to give you some short nuggets at a time just to make it digestible. There is something that I'm going to share, and I'll probably share it on the Rumble channel because I don't think it's YouTube friendly, around the CV, the pandemic, and some more information that I received that is fascinating. And I thought I did a lot of research, but this takes it a level higher. And I'm talking here actually about the illness and not the pokey pokey thing, and how the illness itself has embedded itself into our DNA, like permanently. Anyway, nothing to be scared of, and I don't have any fear. Like, I've gotten rid of that thing ages ago, and I've never been happier. I've never been more content. I've never been more peaceful. So if you haven't already, I fully recommend that you make it your mission to get rid of fear in your life. But it's just interesting, and it helps us just put things in perspective and take care of ourselves better, because it has caused a weakness in our physical body that we just need to make sure we kind of counteract as much as possible. So I'll share that on the Rumble channel because I don't want to be booted off for a third time on YouTube. So if you're not yet subscribed, please make sure you are. The link is below in the notes, the show notes, and then make sure you subscribe to this one, of course, as well, in case you came upon this video and you're not subscribed. That is, of course, if you did enjoy the content. If you didn't, then feel free to move along. But it would be great for us to share this truth wider, because it's at a critical time now in our history where we need to get a certain critical mass, and we are almost there. So the more we do, the more we share, the more we speak out, the quicker this happens. And I don't want you to focus on the bad things, because I don't, but I am not scared to look it in the eye and put it into the sunlight for everyone to see. And you shouldn't be either. So just make sure you balance it, that you don't end up getting angry, resentful, because that's not good for you. And you're not going to create a good reality. So because we are the masters of our own reality, and I'm not saying that lightly, we literally are, we have to be careful what we give energy to, because that will always multiply. So the way that you can prevent it from multiplying is by being neutral about it. Because it's when we're very passionate, when we feel very strongly, when we have strong emotions around a thought or a concept, that's what starts threading the particles to create the reality. If it's something that you're just talking about, but you're completely neutral about it, you are safe. So that is like a key for you. If you're still at the awakening stage where you're very angry, then I recommend you focus on some personal growth and inner work, because you need to move past the anger and the resentment. And you do, everyone on this awakening journey goes through that stage where they get very, very angry, especially when we find out what's been done to our little ones on this planet. And that is just, the worst. And everyone goes through that dark night of the soul. But once you move through that, and once you realize that's not helping the cause, be you being angry, resentful, and having all these strong negative emotions, is not helping the cause, and it's not creating the new earth that is our mission to create. So, get yourself to a stage where you do feel neutral. You're going to have to do the inner work, dive deep, get quiet within yourself, heal your own shadows, because when we heal our own shadows, which we all have, because this is a planet of polarity, but when we do that, we help the collective also heal, and the whole planet collectively can move forward into higher states of consciousness, which is the way out of this 3D matrix, right? And all the awful things that are happening on this planet. So the higher our consciousness rise collectively, the sooner we rise out of polarity and this duality, and it becomes more balanced, harmonized, more peaceful, more prosperous for everyone, because there's enough on this planet, believe me, to go around. Enough money, enough land, enough food, enough water, enough energy. There is enough of everything. This planet is incredibly abundant. And scarcity is just one of those programs that they embedded into our minds generationally to keep us enslaved, because we're always in fear of things running out. That's why we always enter such competition with one another, because we don't believe there's enough for everyone. So if I don't grab this first, then there isn't going to be enough for me. So it's either me or you, right? And that's such a terrible thing for humans to have to go through, because it makes us not want to unite as a species. And unity is what's needed right now, you know. Really, this is the way that we're going to save this planet, by uniting, coming together. Because if we stand collectively against the, I'm so hot now, against the 1%, that's when we win the spiritual war. And we are pretty close. So don't be despondent. There's a very bright future lying ahead of us, and we can see it on the horizon. The light has already won. We just need to remove the minions from this planet now, and we gaining very good ground. And you know, Donald Trump and his team is doing a fantastic job, not just for the US but the entire planet. So don't be despondent. There's wonderful things lying ahead, but it's important that the truth comes out, that we look at squarely in the eyes, so that these things can never happen again. That's all. That's all. But once we know that, and once we've made sure to inform others, we actually get busy with the fun stuff, which is creating this beautiful new reality. We imagine all of the benevolent advanced technology that we'll have to our, for our use to create what we need to create, to free us up, to create more free time for us to spend with family, friends, and to do what we love, to do what we're passionate about, to help others. So all of this is coming. Abundance, peace, all of these things are coming to the planet soon. And it's not like, we're going somewhere else or it's coming to us. It's a state of mind. And it's when the collective consciousness rises enough, that's when it all comes into our reality. So let's make sure we focus on what really matters and what counts, and that you take care of yourself. Just when you love yourself enough, everyone will love you back. That's just the law of attraction, really. And that's all we need to do. It's actually pretty simple. So do what you need to do, fulfill your soul's mission, do good things for others, and you will not regret it. Your life will become so beautiful and good and peaceful. So that's it from me, guys. What can I tell you? We've just launched, just before we log off, just launched an incredible retreat in Mauritius in July. Mauritius is this beautiful island in the Indian Ocean, just off the coast of Africa. It's very tropical. It's very magical. There's a vortex on that island, and it's really a high vibrational place. Okay, of course, here and there it's got its problems as well, but it's really a magical place that will recharge you like you can't imagine. So we're doing a retreat there in July. I decided to do this one kind of high end, so it's this beautiful 5-star resort, but not busy and garish. It's very down to earth, but luxurious at the same time. So it's a bit of a spoil as well, So if you like to travel and you like to focus on your own growth and transformation at the same time, then this would be an incredible retreat for you. So I'll leave that in the description below as well. So join us if you feel up to it. It will transform your life. I promise you. You will learn how to work with your own energy, how to transform the energy within your body. You will literally become your own energy worker, energy healer, or you have the potential to. It's not going to happen overnight, but you'll gain tools that you can then use and develop in your own time after the retreat. So I think it's pretty magical, because it brings back the power into your body vessel, because we are about to go through a embodied ascension. We're not escaping these bodies. We're taking them with us. to the fifth dimension. Anyway, beautiful times ahead. I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Don't forget to catch my interview with S.G. Anon, who's an incredible researcher in this truth movement. It went live yesterday, so check that one out, and I'll see you guys very shortly in the next one, and I'm sending you much love.